What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here, and I appreciate you guys pressing play on another one of our episodes. This week, I have a first-time podcast guest on the show, Miss Kathleen Blanks. She is a realtor and land specialist for Whitetail Properties and very avid and heavily involved in the outdoors, big-time waterfowler. This is an awesome conversation. A lot of it's directed and steered around the subject of purchasing hunting land and ranch land. And we really dive in deep to that, not just with her personal journey into doing that, but a lot of the intricacies in purchasing a hunting property and what to look for, what to ensure your land agent is doing on the matter, and just some of the things that folks might not be thinking about on the forefront of their mind when it comes to purchasing a hunting property. And then on top of all else, how obtainable it really is in today's climate and the intentionality that it takes to be able to obtain it even at a younger stage in your life when you're looking to buy land or hunting property. So it's a great conversation with Kathleen. You would never guess that this is her very first time ever being on any podcast, but she does a fantastic job and really enjoyed this conversation. Hope you guys do as well. If you are a returning listener, then you know the drill. Got to hit a couple things real quick from the people who help make this podcast possible. And it has discount codes for you guys, so please don't fast forward just yet. The first one is Hoot Camo. We love using Hoot Camo here at Fall Obsession. They're a Texas-based company. Can't say enough good things about them. Been using them for several seasons. And if you guys want to check them out, place an order, you can use the code FallObsession15 at checkout, and that will save you guys some money with Hoot Camo. Bear River Archery in Van Alstyne, Texas, is the official archery pro shop of the Fall Obsession team here in North Texas. Absolutely can't say enough about Justin and everything that he does over there at Bear River. If you guys are local to North Texas, you got to go to the shop and see him, check him out, let him know that Fall Obsession sent you. If you are not local but you want to still shop with them, give them your business online, you can use the code Fall Obsession, all one word, lowercase letters at checkout, and that will save you guys some money. Tacticam Reveal is the official cell cam of Fall Obsession, and that is how we gather all of our intel in the field. Keep an eye on those big bucks that we hope to kill every year. The capabilities of the Reveal app and the quality of the photos, the reliability of the cameras, that those are the key things that attract me and our team to Reveal cell cams. If you guys haven't checked them out, you're missing out. Go check out Tacticam Reveal today. Finally, the Outdoor Call radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan has a free app that you can stream hunting shows and podcasts from on a loop every single day. You will hear our show, Fall Obsession Podcast, on that loop on Mondays, the same day as our new publications. There's tons of other shows you can listen to. Download it for free today and start listening to the Outdoor Call radio app. It is February of 2026, and we just opened up the voting for our fan favorite podcast episode of 2025. You guys who have been with us for a little while may remember that we did this last year, allowing you guys to tell us which episode you enjoyed the most in 2024, the previous year, and episode 202, Knocked in High Country with Jake Newman, was last year's winner, but we got to crown a new champion this year, and it's up to you guys entirely. So go to fallobsession.com/podcast and cast your vote today. Voting will be open through February 26th, and we will announce the winner shortly after that. Remember to go vote for the 2025 fan favorite Fall Obsession podcast episode. If this is your first time listening to the show, thank you. Appreciate you guys pressing play. And be sure that you go up there and hit the follow or subscribe button on our channel or on whatever podcast streaming platform you are utilizing. We put new podcasts out every Monday, and we don't want you guys to miss a new episode. We also put the podcast videos on our YouTube channel. You guys can go over there and subscribe. We got other content that hits that YouTube channel, educational videos, shows, films, all sorts of different stuff on there for you guys. So make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we are in all those places. Make sure that you follow us over there on those platforms. Fallobsession.com is the website. That's where you guys can find all of our content. It all filters through there in one way or another. You can also pick you up a hat or a shirt in the store if you want to support the brand. Finally, Carbon TV is a free hunting and outdoor streaming platform, and if you haven't heard of it, you need to go check it out. You will find four different Fall Obsession produced shows on Carbon TV. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, is on there, as well as our two different hunting shows titled Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Guys, go check them out on Carbon TV and start streaming hundreds of different hunting shows, films, podcasts, live feeds every day for free. And on that note, I am done rambling in the intro. We're going to get Kathleen in here and start off our conversation with her. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
The power lies within that middle ground.
Hunting transformed my life.
I think you have to be built somewhat different.
That Dale Brisby's a super puncher.
We need to get Pop-Tarts on the next Walmart order. I'm serious.
Because to come into this country and stay dedicated to that, it was pretty awesome.
If it's only for one, then you've done your job.
We have to do what's right for the wildlife, and that's our responsibility as hunters.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. My guest this week is Kathleen Blanks. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast, Kathleen. Happy to have you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one and been looking forward to our conversation. You are, and where people may be familiar, may not, but may be familiar with you, is you are a land specialist or realtor for Whitetail Properties, a big name in the industry. So just to kick off our conversation, get things rolling, give our listeners just a little bit of an idea on who you are, where you're from, and exactly what you do.
Yeah. So, gosh, I guess we can take it back to when I was a kid. I'm from Prosper, Texas, which is kind of just right down the road from you.
Yeah, not far.
Back when it was a lot smaller than it is now. But grew up there, North Texas. My dad was convinced that he wanted to have a boy, and when he did not have one, he wanted to turn me into one. So he kind of took me around everywhere with him outside hunting. We had a hunting lease. We have a place on Toledo Bend in Louisiana. So we were kind of always grown up outdoors. And I was also a gymnast, so at the collegiate level as well. So I was training, 40 plus hours a week in the gym. And so every time I could get outside, I was out there. Being cooped up in a gym all the time, gets real stuffy in there. And being as my dad was hunting and doing all things outdoors, I just had this itch. I always wanted to be outside. So yeah, I trained. I was in gymnastics for 16 years, training 40 plus hours a week. And then on the weekends and mornings and evenings, I would go hunt with my dad or do whatever it was, throwing the baseball, just being outside. So grew up with a love and passion of the outdoors. Fast forward to college, I went to the University of Arkansas, competed on their gymnastics team my freshman year. That was really eye-opening for just to find who I was as a person and really be know that I wasn't meant just to be cooped up in a gym for 4 years. And,
Right.
I had injuries. I had so many things going on at that time in my life. And so I ended up retiring from gymnastics. And I actually transferred to Texas Tech University, where I pursued a wildlife biology degree. I got actually my first job ever, which is so crazy to say because I was 19, 20. But, with gymnastics, you don't have time for jobs. And so this was my first job, and I was determined to make it something in the outdoors. And I was hired on with Quail Tech, which it's a research company or a research lab for quail in West Texas. And I got to go drive around all these beautiful ranches, tagging quail, putting collars on quail, and just kind of studying the quail population out there. So I really found my love for land and agriculture and ranching and all those things through Quail Tech at Texas Tech. And so right after I graduated from Texas Tech, well, I guess it was the year before I graduated, I met my husband. Hollis, he was a horse trainer and now he has transitioned to being a dog trainer for waterfowl hunting. And we got married, moved back to Prosper, Salina area for a little while, and he really started his dog training career. And I had started with real estate. It's kind of a crazy story how real estate happened, but I just didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and the time was coming that I needed to make a decision. So somebody had mentioned in college about real estate, and when I first think of real estate, I would always think, oh, residential cookie cutter neighborhood houses. I
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. And so I was introduced to farm and ranch real estate, and that really got my attention. So I went ahead, got my real estate license. Um, Very quickly found out that I was not meant for residential real estate and I wanted to absolutely be in land and ranch.
Yeah.
So I kind of just like had to do the stepping stones and really choosing my brokerages based off of what they sell and what they specialize in. So I've, kind of climbed up the ladder a little bit and ended up getting the opportunity to join Whitetail Properties, which is a huge name in the game. And they are really heavy hitters in the land and ranch real estate industry. So very, very incredible opportunity. And I jumped on it and I've been here for, I guess, a year now, a little over a year. So that's been really amazing. But yeah, so after jumping back to after marrying my husband, we moved out here to East Texas, and it kind of, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, the land buying process, and
Oh yeah.
we had to make some sacrifices, and we knew what we wanted and we went after it. So we moved out to East Texas, which is very rural, but it's very much our pace and our kind of lifestyle. So
Yeah.
he has since gone full time training waterfowl hunting dogs and mainly labs and retrievers. And he's got a full kennel. I've, my real estate business is thriving. And so we kind of just made our home out here in East Texas. And it was the best decision we could have made was coming out here. So, but yeah, that's where we're at now. We just love to go outside and hunt and fish and do everything that we can to stay outside and just really be a voice in the industry as well, and just show people that you can have this lifestyle if you want it. You just
Yeah.
kind of, you have to change your mindset and you have to go after your dreams. And so we are just living our dreams now, and it's been amazing. We've been really blessed.
That's awesome. I knew that there was the dog training component to what you guys had going on. I didn't know as exclusive as it was, it sounds like for him. I may have him on the show at some point to talk more specifics
Yeah,
with that
love
because that sounds very interesting for sure as far as that being like I mean it's one thing to train, but for that to be your livelihood basically and what you do and what you're known for, that's impressive. So
He's doing,
I might have to get his phone number from you and
yeah,
and find a time to
absolutely.
have him on the show too. So that'd be
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
So I know you unpacked a lot even just in that kind of just overview on who you are and everything. And I want to dive into a couple things that kind of stood out to me. And the first one is from what you mentioned about Quail Tech and your work there. Tell me about what that was like getting into that because that does not, just me thinking out loud here, it doesn't strike me as something that's like that you pursue or have in mind like, oh, I'm gonna go do this. And I'll be honest, I don't know a whole terrible amount about quail.
Right.
I've hunted them, a couple times, but it's just tell me about that experience and kind of what the importance of what you were doing was like for that.
Well, I will start off by saying it was not a glamorous job at all. It was not anything that I had expected going into it, which was fine. It was my first job. I was young. I was in college. I just wanted to kind of get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
But so really, so with quail, the obviously the population, we had a population out here in East Texas. A lot of people are studying just like the decline of the quail population because I mean, they completely got wiped out of certain parts of Texas. And so really we would just dive into like the study of quail and like what predators there are, quail counts on different ranches. So we would get up super early on a regular school day, and we'd have to go to drive to these ranches, and it's called quail counts. So you would literally they drop you off in the middle of a field, like with no protection, no anything. You kind of just had to fend for yourself. And we would just, as the sun started rising, we would listen to the quail counts, and we'd have to tally every time you heard a quail.
Oh, wow.
So like they're bob whites. And so that it was really just like getting out into the field, and also like the barn work, like having to go into the flight pen, clean out all the waters, count the quail in the flight pens, incubation, like breeding the quail and everything. And so it wasn't always glamorous, but it really taught me a lot about not only work ethic, but just like caring for animals and like wildlife, wild
Yeah.
animals, just studying their habitats and their patterns and their what they eat and what kills them off, and just studying everything that wildlife, has to go through on a daily basis, just knowing how to keep them alive, conservation, things like that. It was really eye-opening for me to start there. And it kind of just grew my passion for wanting to really be in the wildlife industry, and like and land, and I dealt with a lot of ranchers, farmers, landowners, just really seeing how they operate day to day, how hard it is to be a steward of the land. Not, I mean, it's hard, but it's also rewarding. Like
Right.
just being around all these landowners was what really made me passionate about helping others to start getting into that, to the land buying process, and creating that legacy that you can pass on to your children. So that's really kind of what kickstarted it. But yeah, Quiltech, I worked there I think for 2 or 3 years, and it was the best time just going out. And I mean, I was on the sixes. I was on so many amazing ranches.
Wow.
So that really started my love for the ranch real estate side of things.
It probably gives you a pretty healthy appreciation and perspective for just, I mean, it's obviously specific to quail, but wildlife conservation in general, and I know that, my listeners on this show probably get tired of hearing me talk about conservation all the time, but it's if it weren't for people who had a love and appreciation for the process, for the animals, for preserving that animal's, habitat and future, there's no future in hunting without that and everything. And people, I would say the naive person that, doesn't really have a good understanding on it, doesn't understand how much hunters who technically kill and harvest these animals in the end, how much they do on the front end for the animals and their habitat and everything as well. So I imagine that was a whole nother, like, I mean, your hands are literally in it at that point, as far as putting the
Right.
work in. So that's pretty cool.
And as hunters and outdoorsmen, I mean, we need to be proactive in the conservation side of things.
Absolutely.
We need to have good understanding of that. And so, because like you said, what we love and enjoy to do and what we're passionate about, like that wouldn't be there without conservation. So
Yeah.
we really need to have a better understanding of that before you can really appreciate and love the hunting aspect of it.
Yeah. And I imagine it comes into play a little bit too with the land side, and we'll kind of get to some of that. And I wanted to start by asking you, you talked about the kind of realizing real quick that the residential cookie cutter real estate scene was not for you. You wanted the farm and ranch aspect, and that's where you felt kind of a passion is what is the sense that I'm getting. But what are some of the challenges in getting into that world? Because, and I'm not a realtor, I don't know. I'm asking the same as people who listen might be thinking, but um, just thinking out loud, it seems like you got to kind of have I don't know if a resume is the right word, but you got to be able to prove that, hey, this is where I can succeed. Because is it busy? Is it a competitive market, I guess, for people trying to get into that world?
Yeah. So um back whenever I started real estate, farm and ranch, I mean, it's always been a thing, but it wasn't as popular, I guess, to be in the farm and ranch industry, real estate industry, back when I started. So I wasn't really surrounded. I was in North Texas, was an up and coming, area that was just has exploded since I've been there. or since I left there. So I kind of was surrounded by the residential world of real estate.
Right.
And you have brokerages, that they'll like your big name brokerages like Keller Williams, they have a land side, or they'll, they dabble in farm and ranch. But the big heavy hitters are really in the hill country of Texas. And so you really like to get into the farm and ranch side. You'd really need that. You have that respect and the love for the outdoors and really be an outdoorsman. And especially and that's why I've been so grateful for Whitetail Properties, is because every agent at Whitetail Properties, they live the lifestyle every day.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just some, random guy that's on the street just trying to sell you a ranch that's never, been on a ranch or doesn't understand the value with land. And so really just having that understanding and living that lifestyle every day, which I did growing up. And so doing, like I talked about, the stepping stones with real estate, starting, with a residential company. I started with Keller Williams, and they had like this training program, and I knew I wanted to do that. I'm a very hands-on learner. So I started there, and they were very much based off like residential real estate and homes. And so I got bored of that very fast. And I started, asking around, finding mentors in the farm and ranch real estate side. And I found a really great mentor. He kind of helped me along the way make those steps to the farm and ranch side. And I guess that was, 5 years ago now. Yeah, 5 years. And so once I finally got my foot in the door with farm and ranch real estate, it really just kicked off from there. I mean, I worked with 2 brokerages before I came to Whitetail Properties, and just the stepping stones and everything I've learned along the way, and being open to learning more. And like, we're never just content with what we know. Like, we're always trying to educate ourselves. And Whitetail Properties is so good about that. They have so many resources, and everybody at Whitetail is so willing to help you become a better agent. And so it's really been a blessing. They've always been, a heavy hitter in the real estate industry. And so when I got this opportunity to go with Whitetail Properties, I was absolutely ecstatic. And it's just been such a great transition for me. And being a land specialist and actually, living that lifestyle has been, and living it with, the other guys, the team surrounding me, this Northeast Texas team has been incredible. They've welcomed me with open arms, and they embody what Whitetail represents. And so it's just really been a blessing to finally be at my, my end goal as Whitetail Properties. Just being a land specialist for them has been absolutely incredible.
That's awesome. So from the consumer side, and you just listed a lot of benefits and things that are special about Whitetail Properties and everything. But and I'm not trying to, I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to rag on other agencies or brokers, but it's there's and being in the hunting industry, I realize this more and more how many there are, because if you're looking for something specific to kind of this genre when it comes to, finding a land specialist or a realtor, there's Whitetail Properties, there's small town hunting properties, there's Midwest Land Group, all of these start popping up, and you're like, oh, at least for me, I was like, oh wow, I did not realize how many there are out there.
Yeah.
And everything. And this might sound like just kind of a novice or simple question, but it, is it hard finding clients with all of these different companies out there that are trying to tap into that, I guess?
Yeah, and there's so many incredible agencies and brokers and agents out there. And if you start to, get that mindset of competing against them, and, just kind of getting this bitterness with other agencies, that's kind of when you definitely see a downfall in your business.
Right.
So really just like connecting with the other agents, and understanding that, we're all land specialists out here. We're all doing the best we can. As long as you have that trust with your client and the knowledge behind it, you go grow your business as much as you can. Like, shout it to the world. Like, everybody is just, doing their best out here in the barn ranch real estate industry. So, but as far as finding clients, I worried about that too in the beginning, especially being in the residential world where it seems like just about everybody and their dog is a real estate agent.
Yeah, it's super saturated for sure. Yeah.
Very saturated. So, yeah, being in that the niche, it definitely, it's not as crazy and saturated as residential, but you still have, your trials and some slow points of the year. But you just have to keep, as long as you can, get your mindset to working hard and really brand yourself and your brokerage and your company, and just be authentic in the industry. Really, you just shouldn't really have to worry about clients. They're
Right.
going to come. You just have to really prove yourself and keep bettering yourself and educating yourself so that you can be respected in the industry.
I would imagine for people who are buying and selling land or hunting property, on top of that, there's probably a whole lot more word of mouth probably plays a little bit more of a factor. And then on top of that, if that is not a factor, I would imagine folks are really doing their research on, hey, who's gonna help me either sell this for what it's worth or purchase exactly what I'm looking for. I imagine that folks are probably a little bit more, they work a little harder to find the right fit, I would imagine.
They
So
need to be. Yeah, I encourage them to always do your research on your real estate agent, on your land specialist. Find the person that's going to fit your needs and what you want out of this contractual relationship and this business relationship. So yeah, I definitely encourage that. Do your research, know who you're working with, and it's really important for landowners and buyers to find that right fit.
yeah, absolutely. So kind of the next question I was going to ask and kind of what I want to talk about, and you alluded to it earlier on. You talked about you and your husband's own personal journey into kind of living the dream now, right? But you talked about kind of some making some sacrifices and taking initiative to make all that happen. So, uh, kind of on the subject of the attainability of land, how easy is it, or you know how could somebody actually realistically go about something like this and take it from just being a dream on, oh, one day hopefully I'll have something like this, to actually making it a reality? Can you speak to that a little bit, and maybe specific to y'all's own journey and kind of what that looked like for you guys?
I sure can. And we just went through this for the second time. So I'm excited to talk about this subject. But
Awesome.
so the attainability, it's not as easy as it was 30 years ago. Land prices have gone up drastically. Um, but it's not impossible for young
Right.
people to still, chase that dream and of land ownership. So we started back in Prosper. We rented a house there after we got married, and we knew prices then were just going outrageous, and it really did feel like it was impossible. We were so defeated, and so we started talking about moving outside of the metroplex, and where can we go, where can we still work and make a living, but also have what we want to have. And we had horses, or we have horses now, but at the time we had horses. He was starting his dog training business, and so we wanted to be out on some land, and we needed to be, actually. So we made the sacrifice of giving up that, not necessarily the city life, but just the amenities and, being just around people and the restaurants and everything, kind of like the city-ish life, to coming out to rural land where there's not much around. There's a great community, but
Right.
you just don't have everything, at your fingertips. So we ended up moving out here. Gosh, it was such a God thing, but we found 10 acres and a log cabin house. That it was our first purchase, and that's where we kind of, planted our roots in Mineola, Texas, which is just north of Tyler. So it was a really scary thing, but just being partnered with the right lenders. And at the time, I didn't know any agents out here, so I was kind of having to fend for myself. And so I just was doing all the work that I knew how to do, but really finding like that, the land specialist or the real estate agent, that is such a huge part in it, just to have
Mhm.
somebody to help you navigate where to go. So We ended up closing on this. We've been here now for 4.5 or 5 years. And now we bought some raw land, and when I tell you, I thought that was never going to happen because it was my mindset. The barrier really isn't money. It's your mindset of we just think it's impossible. We don't think it's attainable to be a landowner. And so starting young, you kind of have to really be strict about how you spend your money, know what you want to save for that down payment. And there's so many young couples are getting so creative with their financing now. I mean, you can go owner finance, USDA, FSA, like there's so many different things that you can do to get creative, but really just comes down to being strict about your finances and saving up for your goals and what you want to accomplish. So we started our land buying journey, gosh, 3 or 4 years ago. And I was very impatient, and my husband, he is just a godsend, but he was the one that kind of like brought me back down and said, "Hey, we don't need this, we're going to get it one day, but we don't need to make this a huge deal right now. Like we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, save up, and the right piece of property is going to come." Right. So, I really think just having that expectation of not wanting or needing that 500 acres right now. Like you might not even be able to get 100 acres, 50 acres. You might have to start small, 10, 20, 30 acres. And then you starting there, you can start building up and using it as investments and obtaining your land that way. And so we just closed on our new property, and it's just the advice I would give is changing your mindset, not being, so strict where you can't enjoy yourself in your life with, saving up but think of it as like, it's just a truck payment. It's land can just be a truck payment. So really just being strict with your finances and finding the right land specialist and just not giving up and knowing that it's okay. It might take some time. I might have to start small, but I will get there. And it's so much easier than people think. Like once you get that mindset, and that's what I love, that's why I love doing this too, is helping those young people just explore the opportunities and know that, hey, you can do this. It's just going to take a little bit of effort and time, and maybe just cut down on your spending a little bit, stop going out to eat and cook your dinners and, just see where you can. And then it will happen. You just have to have that mindset and have the right people next to you and around you.
I think the whole concept of intentionality of just a budget, saving, that kind of thing, it's becoming so foreign. And I think part of it's a generational thing, but then I think the other half of it is just currently just the cost of living. And I'll speak for what's relevant to me, especially down here in North Texas, and this. It is just so sky high in general, right? And it keeps going up. And so that can be discouraging for people who might even have all the intentionality in the world, but then they feel like they're getting beat down because it's just like, oh man, I can't get ahead. I feel like I can't figure it out. So I think both those things combined, I think intentionality can outweigh just the current climate. It just depends on, like you say, kind of the sacrifices you make and everything. But I know definitely the cards are stacked against folks these days. I certainly feel like that. It takes initiative to make it happen for sure. So
it does. And gosh, we have been there in that, just stuck in that like, frustrated state of mind, and all the odds are stacking up against you, and it's just, but it's okay to start small. It is okay to start small. You don't have to have that 50 acres, 100 acres right now. Just start where you can and then build up from there.
And land value, at least in my limited knowledge, I feel like land value doesn't necessarily just trend down. Like if you start small now, even though it might seem like you're paying a lot for a little, or to have a small piece of what your end goal is, 5, 10 years down the line, that small little piece you'll probably turn a profit on it, would be my guess. So
land is always a hard asset. They don't make any more of it. So it's definitely a good a great investment.
Yeah. I don't have dozens or hundreds of acres. We moved out to the quote unquote country uh back in 2022, I guess, so 4 years ago. And kind of the same deal. Like we bought 2.5 acres just to have our own little homestead and things on. And it was definitely something where it's like, okay, we're gonna figure out a way to make this work. And don't regret it at all. And even though it seemed like a heavy price tag and everything at the time, it's also like, well, I look at my property value now and I'm like, it's only it's gone up way
It's
more than I thought it would in 4 years. It's like and it's only
absolutely.
going to keep doing that. So it's it's
Yeah.
it's been it's worked out good. So
And a little bit of land can still change your lifestyle
oh yeah,
drastically.
absolutely, absolutely.
So it doesn't matter if it's 2 acres, if it's 5 acres, as long as you're just keep going after your dream and you know what you love, like being outside, and you want, whether it's just a couple chickens or you want your dog to have a big backyard, like that changes your life drastically. So don't don't hate on the small properties, because you're starting somewhere and you're going to keep getting bigger and bigger as you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how many, just for you specifically, how many people do you have that are just looking for kind of that dream of obtaining land or space or pulling the trigger finally, like we've been talking about, versus somebody who's very intentional, like, hey, I'm like you work for Whitetail Properties. I am looking for a whitetail property that has X, Y, and Z. What's the ratio there? Do you have a lot of people who are specifically looking for a very certain thing when it comes to deer and hunting land?
Gosh, it fluctuates so much throughout the year. And I really have a good amount of both of those types of buyers. Um, Especially around hunting season, that's when I start to really get a lot of the intentional buyers of, hey, I want this amount of land. I've got this budget and I want, like, this is my use for it. I want to
Right.
hunt on it. I want a waterfowl property. I want a whitetail hunting property. And so I really get a heavy amount of those intentional buyers around hunting season. And heck, even it's really actually stays steady throughout the year. People just wanting to like secure their hunting property and start getting to work on it, way earlier in the year. And then I've also got quite a bit of those buyers who are either new to buying land, or they want to get their family out on land and start having that legacy that they can pass down. So it's really just it depends on the time of year. It fluctuates back and forth, but I really get a lot of both.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of land sellers as well. And so kind of being able to match, the listings that I have to these buyers that come into play. It could be 2 years ago that I got a buyer that, he reached out and they want to raise their family out on a ranch and be away from the city. I just keeping those relationships up and finding this listing that, hey, this property would be perfect for this guy that I met 2 years ago that's been looking. I wonder if he's, be interested in it. And so just having that variety of buyers and sellers is so helpful to have in the real estate industry. But yeah, there's a ton of those out there just wanting to obtain that land for the first time. They're young and they want to start their legacy. So getting to help those folks it's so amazing. I really enjoy working with those first time land buyers.
Yeah, that's awesome. My dad and I have we have a dream, and we talk about it more here lately and it's always been something we've talked about our whole life, because we've had deer leases and everything, like most folks do down in Texas. We have one right now. But obviously, like, it's different having a lease where you might have to share it with a guy that runs cows on it, or you might have to share it with, some oil field guys or something like that, which we have to do both of those things right now. Versus, having property that's designated for whitetail for you and your family and just whoever you want to bring out there. That's the dream. So this question kind of comes from me hoping to accomplish that one day. What advice do you have for a buyer as far as taking a deeper look into that property and ensuring that it meets all of your expectations. Because, and I'm thinking about what I see. I see stuff online, whether it's a listing, a lease, whatever, if it's kind of advertised as a hunting property, there's pictures of the land, obviously trying to showcase its more appealing features and everything like that. There might be some trail cam pictures associated with that if you're really trying to market it to a deer hunter or something of the sorts. But obviously, the opportunity for somebody to spend time on that land and actually put eyes themselves on the wildlife that are there, that's pretty limited. What advice, and this might be kind of a difficult question to frame, I don't know, but what kind of advice do you have for the buyer in trying to ensure that all of those expectations are actually getting met when you're limited on how much time you obviously can spend on a property to ensure it's what you want?
Yeah, and so I completely understand your question, but so really being intentional with who you pick as your land specialist. And so, and that's why Whitetail Properties is so amazing. Like my time, my experience here, but we do go through, we put the game camera pictures up. If they don't have game camera pictures, we physically go out to the property, whether it's in the mornings during hunting hours, like when we can see the most wildlife, we put those cameras up, and we get to know the property personally so that we can better help buyers find what they're looking for. So
Love
really just
that.
being intentional with who you pick as your land specialist, gaining that relationship and the trust. And when you pick your land specialist and you have that right land specialist, they're going to take you out in the mornings. If you're specified you want a hunting property, say for whitetail or for waterfowl, I've done this so many times with waterfowl properties. Take them out in the mornings, let them go sit in the woods with when there's a slough in front of you, like let them sit there and watch these birds come in and physically put eyes on them. That's huge. And I'm all about that. It not only does it make it intentional for you, but it's also a fun experience. It's not a dreadful experience. So, I gotta go, drive and show these properties today, but it's fun for the agent and it's fun for the person who's buying the land. So, really just knowing what you want in a property and being willing to work on that property and see the potential of the property, whether it's, just raw land, untouched land, you have to be open-minded and say, okay, I can build this levee up. I can make this a slough right here, or I can take then some timber out over here and make a food plot on this side, just really being open-minded going into a property and knowing that there's so much that you can do yourself to make this and turn this into the best hunting property that you can.
Yeah. And hope that you have good neighbors.
Yeah, and exactly. Say a prayer for the neighbor.
No, that's awesome. And I love hearing that. That's I mean it reflects the quality of service that Whitetail Properties in this case, and what you guys are trying to do over there as far as making sure that you're going above and beyond to get all the information you need for a client on a property and stuff. But it shows some respect too for the commitment and the investment that somebody's about to make, both, physically and financially into a property and suiting them to the right spot and finding something that meets their needs. And it's so I'm learning as I've talked to more just over, I would say over the course of the last year or so, talked to a few folks that do similar things to what you do, and then obviously yourself, that I'm learning of all the work that goes into it from the agent side and the specialist side as well. And not that residential real estate isn't taxing or you don't work hard doing that, but you show up to a house, you can take some pictures and I won't speak for a realtor. I'm not a realtor, but there's a whole lot more that goes into this, obviously. So, and as it should be. So,
Yeah, and it's so much fun too, and that's why I love it so much because that's what I live every day. It's what I've always dreamed of doing for a career. Like it's just crazy that I can call this my career. I can
yeah,
literally go out, watch wildlife, and allow other buyers to experience that and get their foot in the door with buying land and ranches. And it's just it is a dream job, and I'm just so blessed to be able to live it.
that is awesome. I want to talk a little bit about some of your own hunting experiences and stuff, but I don't want to stray too far from the subject of being a land specialist and all that kind of stuff. So, is there anything you want to add? Anything that I might be missing on the topic, or anything for our listeners that you'd like to share before I steer the conversation more to just some hunting experiences and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, just some advice and just some like
Yeah,
encouragement would be to just not don't think of buying land as a chore or as, some this impossible thing that you can never achieve, because it's easier than people think. Starting small, changing your mindset, being strict with your finances, finding the right lender, getting creative with finances or with your lender to be able to get to go about it a different way, and maybe not, don't do it just how everybody else is doing it. Do it how it's going to work for you. And making that relationship with your land specialist, and just don't give up on that dream, because it will happen. And I almost gave up on it, and I am a land specialist, so I know how hard it really can be and how taxing it can be and on your mindset. And but just really, staying encouraged and just keep on going. And I know that that dream can happen because we've done it. So
yeah.
just don't yeah, don't give up on it.
That's great advice. I was also going to ask, just on a lighter hearted note too, have you had any crazy stories or crazy run-ins with certain landowners, or has everything been pretty chill and easy going?
No, it hasn't been the opposite of chill and easygoing.
Okay.
But some instances, no, I mean, you're always gonna being out in rural Texas too, you just have to be very careful. And I have had an instance of, a neighbor. Family issues are always a thing when it comes to land and ranches, and um, not so happy family members who happen to be neighbors, just coming out with the gun drawn
Oh wow.
and just angry and having to like calm the situation. And um, there's some crazy people out there,
Yeah.
but just learning how to calm everybody down and like, you know, make the situation bring the situation down a little
Yeah,
bit. So
de-escalate everything. Yeah.
yeah, that was a little crazy being around somebody who like literally had a gun drawn. But
Yeah.
um gosh, what else has there been? Uh just some like, oh, we had this old rundown house that had squatters in it, and just not really knowing how to like navigate that situation. And just people, messing around properties where they shouldn't be. And
Yeah.
just there's always something new. You always see something. People intense on properties that the landowners they haven't been on stepped foot on, in like 5-10 years, and there's tents of people living on their property. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy, walking up on a tent with people living in it when you're showing a property. But yeah, it's always something. It stays interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's crazy what people will do on a place that they have no right to be on, just because they think or they know that nobody ever goes
Nobody's
out there. We dealt with that just with our lease that we currently have,
oh
um,
god.
which prior to we've had it for 5 years now, so word's gotten around. But our first year on it, there were so many instances. I say so many. There were several more than we would have liked, where one of us that was on the place, there's only four of us that hunt out there, but one of us was finding trespassers or poachers or somebody out there who has probably been going out there for years, but prior to us
Yeah.
being out there, the place hadn't been hunted in 20 years. So a lot of
Wow.
folks just felt like, the gate was just always open, and anybody that wanted to could drive through there, and nobody was out there to hold them accountable. And so it
Yeah.
took a couple years of, hey, no, this place is leased now. It's hunted now.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
seems like word's kind of gotten around a little bit. So that's good.
yeah.
But it
That
it, it
it's so
just it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
it does. Gosh, people surprise me all the time. It's They just think that if the gate's open, hey, it's my property now.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
No,
Yeah. If anybody's out there listening, don't do that.
no, just because the gate's open doesn't mean it's an open gate
Not
policy.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's we had to change that real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So
Yeah.
so you and your husband, y'all are my understanding, and from what you've told me before the episode, y'all are pretty big into the waterfowl scene and everything. So tell us a little bit about what that's like on an annual basis for you guys and your love for waterfowling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So our love for waterfowl, mine came from when I was 5 years old. My dad took me on my first duck hunt with my grandpa out on Lake Toledo Bend in Louisiana, where we have a family place out there. And I remember I have a picture. I was tiny and I was in my dad's camo and I had a duck call in my hand and I had the face paint on um and we had a black lab and her name was Abby. And watching her, I remember just being so mesmerized. Um, Watching the ducks come in and just being out there on a still lake. And so that's where my passion kind of came in. Hollis, he's got a whole other story that I'm sure he can tell you one day, but he really has a passion for the dog aspect as well. And so when we got married, I guess it was like the year after or the year that we got married, we started really getting big into waterfowl hunting. And that's when he got his first lab that he trained himself. And he came from a horse training background, and so the transition to dogs was incredibly easy for him. He's like an animal whisperer. It's so crazy. But so we started, dabbling in the dog thing and watching them just like work and train. It's incredible how smart they are. And so taking them on their first hunt, that's what really like kick-started this whole duck hunting thing for us. And um, now every year, duck season, waterfowl season is just so chaotic. We are always traveling, we're always driving, scouting, finding the birds, and just wherever we can find them, like we're going to stay the night and we're going to go hunt the next morning there. And so it's really unpredictable what our seasons look like, but a lot of 2 a.m. wake ups, driving a couple hours to a WMA or a lake, or you're driving to a different state sometimes, actually all the time. We start our waterfowl season up in Canada. So we'll drive up north in October and we kind of just like follow the migration down and hunt on the way back to Texas. And then when Texas opens, we are just constantly on the road, scouting and and we're so blessed to be able to have two careers that really go hand in hand with hunting and waterfowl season. So wherever we go, on our next like hunting trip, I'm bringing my laptop. I'm always working, or I'm coming and driving back and showing that day. And Hollis is bringing a trailer full of dogs to hunt, so we can have the real life scenario. No, so
Yeah.
it's like, it's always chaotic, but it's so much fun. It's what we love to do. Our seasons are exhausting. By the end of the season, we're like, oh, we can finally sleep in. We can have a little bit of sleep, but it's so much fun. It's what we're passionate about. And I'm so lucky and blessed that I have a partner and a spouse that loves to do it so much, just like I do. And I have that same passion as he does. And so we're always having a blast traveling and bringing our work with us, and being able to do both at the same time is such a blessing.
That's that's awesome. Makes for a fun life for sure. So
Yes.
when you guys are traveling back down, you talk about following migration back. Are y'all only waterfowl hunting, or are you you know dipping out here and there to hunt something else, or is it just strictly waterfowl?
It's so we really try and target ducks. And October is so early for the migration. So really like you're watching the geese go fly down south, but there's the ducks are good still gonna be in North Dakota, South Dakota. We'll stop and waterfowl hunt really wherever we can get permission, because at that point it's you're probably gonna be door knocking and trying to hunt a lot of private land up
Yeah.
north, which is what we do in Canada is we go door knock and we just kind of do it ourselves and try and find the birds, go find the landowners, and then ask for permission and hunt there. But back home during regular season, we're strictly public land hunting. So where the grind really happens is doing that public land hunting. But yeah, watching the geese fly south and just learning about the birds and like learning how they migrate, when they migrate, why they migrate. It's just so cool. And being able to experience that is amazing. And it's just a part of the reason that we love to do it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask if there was a certain genre of waterfowl that y'all like most, but you just said that ducks was
Mallards.
the bird. Yeah, so
We really try to do some mallards. Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I think I mentioned the other day when we spoke, we have a lot of avid waterfowlers in our team here, and a lot of geese and snow geese hunters for sure. I mean, plenty of duck hunters as well, but our team has really bit off on hunting those snow geese and everything, and that's always a heavy focus every year for sure. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
So what has been thinking back, and this is a question that I normally ask most first time guests that come on the show. What is a hunting memory that really sticks out in your mind at any point in your life as one of your all-time favorites?
Oh gosh. So many come to mind. I would say the one that really stands out is, and I know I've talked about, we are such dog people, like our favorite thing about the hunt is watching the dog work.
Yeah,
So I got my first lab, I think he's 4 years ago now, 3.5, 4 years ago. And I took him up to Canada. I trained him. Obviously, my husband helped me and guided me on training, but um, for the most part, I would like to say I did the training myself with the help of Hollis. And so I took him, his name's Sprig. I took him up to Canada with us 2 years ago. And no, was that last year? Oh my gosh. No, that was last year. No, 2 years ago. And so there's a lot of different terms in the dog world, but we were hunting geese, and this one morning, and this goose was crippled, and it kind of flew really, really far out, and we had two dogs working that day, and so they're obviously watching all these birds drop. Well, there's this cripple that flies way far away, but we see it go down eventually, and so I send my dog, and it's called a blind retrieve because he didn't see the bird fall,
right.
and we sent him on a 470-yard blind, and so you have to do the whistle stops. They have to watch you do your casting, and so we casted him all the way to this bird. He had to cross a county road, go down in a gully. You couldn't even see him at some of these points, but he retrieved a 470-yard blind, and I'm so emotional about it, but it was the craziest and coolest experience, just watching your dog learn from his training, and like just go get this bird that was so far away using only your hand signals was
Wow.
the craziest experience. Everybody in the blind was just like going crazy and watching him get that bird. He caught it in midair too when he
Wow.
got there. So it gave me chills. It was the coolest experience. So I'd probably say that's top three for sure.
Yeah,
Hunting experience.
a
Yeah.
lot of pride in what that dog did, and then seeing a lot of hard work pay off. That's incredible. That's
It was
impressive.
amazing. Yeah. And after that, you'd think he'd be tired, but he was just ready for more. It's so cool just watching. They're just as passionate, about hunting as you are. And so that's a really cool thing to watch is the dogs. But
That's awesome.
yeah, it was amazing.
Another question that I like to throw out there too is, um, what is on your bucket list? Like if you had to narrow down like it doesn't have to be one. Like a lot of people can't narrow it down to one, but if you had to narrow down once in a lifetime hunts that if you could just do it once, that would be enough. What's on your list?
Mountain lion is definitely on my list.
Mountain
I would love
lion
to go hunt mountain lion with dogs.
with dogs.
Um,
Awesome.
and harlequin up in Alaska. It's a duck. They're beautiful ducks. I would love to go on a hunt up in Alaska. I've already done one of my dream hunts, which was actually two of them, which was an elk hunt in Wyoming and an alligator hunt. And so I marked those off the bucket list. Those were incredible. I'd love to go on another elk hunt, but with archery. I'd like to archery hunt an elk. Um, so that would definitely be on the bucket list. But really, mountain lion, that would be. I think I'm gonna actually book it for this year. I'm
That's
ready to do
awesome.
it.
Where are you gonna
Yeah,
go?
I'd like to go to Utah.
Utah?
Yeah, I've heard really good stories of hunters up in Utah. We've got a friend that actually does a little bit of guiding up there, so we might do that. Or New Mexico, I think, has some good mountain lion hunting. So
Yeah, I think like that whole kind of stretch over there, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, kind of in that range. I actually, it's probably been a year or two ago now. I had a guy on the show, actually a firefighter friend of mine, but he went on a dog hunt for a lion in, I want to say it was Arizona, I'm pretty sure. And it would they could do like bear or lion. And his dad went with him. His dad was going for a lion, ended up getting one. He was going for I can't remember if he was going to be fine with either or ultimately a bear. He ended up getting attacked by the bear that he killed. And
oh,
it was he said it was such an old bear. The bear actually like latched onto his leg, but the bear was
oh,
so old that all of his teeth were like nubs, so it bruised his leg really bad, but it never actually like bit him.
God.
And I heard this and I'm listening. He tells a story on the show about, what the dogs were doing and, with the whole situation. And I was just like, man, this was, it blew my mind. It was a whole
What a
nother
wild.
level of just intense hunting that
Oh,
I've never talked to anybody about before. And yeah, it was intriguing for sure. Just
yeah.
the dog element with hunting bears and lions like that out west. I was just like, this is insane. This is an incredible experience. So
Yeah.
not
What
not
a
that not that anybody wants that, don't get me wrong. But still
yeah.
it opened my eyes. I was like, wow, this is a whole nother world of hunting right here. It's just amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, man, I would love to do that. And just watching the dogs work and how smart they are. It's just, I would love to do that. So that is definitely a bucket list hunt, and I will be doing that. I will be completing that soon.
Well,
Hopefully.
it sounds like you're like you said, you're looking at booking one, so
Yeah.
hope to see some success photos or something from that eventually on your page or something, because that would be a cool
Absolutely.
experience for sure. So
Yep.
with all the traveling you guys do, y'all need like a camera crew following y'all or something, make a
I
show out of that. That's a
know.
whole tour every year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, we
awesome.
talk about that all the time. Just like we wish we could just have everything documented, and like so we could show our kids one day, like, hey, we
Yeah.
actually were cool at some point. We did all these cool things. And so yeah, I love reliving those memories too. I try and record and video as much as possible, as much as I can during the hunt, just so that we can go back every year after season. We'll sit on the couch and put our pictures up on the TV and our videos and just rewatch them all.
That's
And so
awesome.
that's a really cool thing to be able to do and kind of relive the last season and how chaotic it was, but you just get
Yeah.
to sit down and enjoy it all again. So
I encourage everybody that can to do that. I mean, we obviously live in a day and age with technology that anybody with a cell phone can do it, even if it's just for, your own personal purposes and memories and that kind of stuff. But I know that's been one thing that I've enjoyed with the journey on the media side that we're involved in with our brand. It's like there's a lot of work involved. It can be tedious, it can be cumbersome at times, but at the end of the day, it's like, man, all of these things are documented forever. Like
mhm.
I'll speak for my own personal experiences, and what's meant a lot to me personally has been, like I have a significant mule deer hunt, a significant elk hunt that's documented now. And I took podcast equipment with me on these hunts. And so I did podcasts like fresh off of these experiences, like while we were still
So
in mule deer camp 7 hours after I shot my buck, or while we were still in the mountains in Idaho. Is like, okay, we're gonna all sit down and tell and talk about this and everything. And those are the episodes like that I personally like to go back and listen to myself,
yeah.
just because you can still sense the excitement, and
Mhm.
it kind of takes you back to the moment. And that looks back there, that looks different for anybody, as far as if it's I know not everybody obviously has a mic or a podcast, but whether it's recording conversations with friends or video and hunts, whatever it might be, like I said, even if it's just for yourselves, just that
Mhm.
that is one of the few good things that might be out there with technology these days, but just the ability for any and everybody to do that, and kids these days to be able to go back and look at their parents' hunts, their first hunt, that kind of stuff. That's no generation I feel like has really had that until now. So
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I can't wait for one day that we are able to go show our kids, like this is what we were able to do. We were blessed to do this, and maybe set the stakes for them to be able to do the same thing. And
yeah,
yeah, it's so fun reliving those memories, and especially the podcast thing after your mule deer hunt. I bet that was so exciting. And like when you're in the moment and you shoot your deer, your elk, you kind of like your brain almost like foggy memories, like you almost don't even like remember it just happened. It's just such a crazy thing that just happened. So going back and talking about it right after and like just being able to have that memory replay all the time is that's such a cool thing to
yeah.
experience.
I was with the mule deer specifically. I was in camp with two of my friends that and from our fall obsession team here, but and they were like perched up on a vantage point where they were watching me make this stalk on this deer from
Oh, wow.
like a third of a mile away. And
Oh
so they're
my God.
watching the whole thing. They watched the whole thing go down. So I sat down and podcasted with them. So you got to hear my perspective, and then I got to hear about their perspective watching the whole thing happen. It was like a 2 hour stalk, but they're just sitting up
That's
there on a hill watching the whole thing. And it yeah, pretty much like once a year around the time of that hunt, I get to thinking about it and I go back and I turn it on just while I'm doing something else. And so many things get come up. It's like, oh man, I forgot that that happened. I forgot that, I was thinking that or whatever. And, but kind of along the lines of what you just said, without it, sometimes there's a few little things that kind of get lost in, just as time goes on. But yeah, it's really cool to go back and relive that for sure. So.
absolutely. Yeah, I love that you documented all that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's been a blessing for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting close to that 1 hour mark I normally shoot for and everything, but is there anything that we've missed? Anything else you'd like to share, whether it's about your journey into, getting involved with Whitetail Properties and the land specialist side, or even just your own hunting experiences? Anything that we've missed, or any last tips or tricks for anybody tuning in?
Yeah. I would just, I really want to start being a voice for the younger generation and women in the outdoors.
Yeah,
And I would just encourage them to stay authentic to yourself. And, if you're passionate about the outdoors and hunting, whatever it may be, stay authentic to that. Don't try and, out hunt anybody or make it a competition. Don't compare yourself to all these social media influencers. They're great. That's a great platform to be on, but just really stay true to yourself, do what you love to do. Don't think about, social media likes, don't think about what somebody might think of you being a woman outside and hunting in a male dominated niche, but just do what you love to do. Don't care what anybody thinks and just get out there and help the younger generation do the same thing. Just always be a positive voice and a positive influence in the hunting community because we really need it. And then on the land specialist side, you know, just really don't give up on your dream for buying land and that land ownership. Start small. It's an investment. Grow bigger as you go, and find a land specialist that you can connect with and trust, and really cherish those relationships and let them lead you and guide you the right direction. Um, and don't give up on your dream of owning land because it's not impossible. It
yeah,
might be a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. So yeah, just enjoy the outdoors, enjoy what God has given us in all his creations. So,
yeah.
yep.
I I really appreciate what you said about, just as far as the what you do or how people perceive you on social media and that kind of stuff, because I would look at it from the standpoint of, yeah, you can go out of your way and pretend to be something that you're not for likes,
Mhm.
for the reach, the audience, however you want to look at it. Um but the people worth having as your followers, the people worth having influence over,
Mm-hmm.
the people worth working with, in your industry and your professional field, um, they'll see and appreciate the authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking for somebody who's trying to, put on a front.
Mm-hmm.
They can pick up on that, and they know what's real and what's not, who's authentic and who's not. And the people who stay authentic are the people who truly resonate with them and they want to work with, in my opinion. So
I
that's,
love that you said that. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
yeah, I'm
Just stay
I'm
true to
I'm not one to try and put clickbait out there or try to, essentially buy followers, right? Our growth for years has been organic. It's been slower because of that in some senses, but
yeah.
I'd rather have it that way, because that tells me that the people who are with us on our journey are the people who care about it. So
Mm-hmm. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with.
exactly,
So
exactly. Well,
couldn't say
Kathleen,
better.
I uh I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for joining me for an episode. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I
Yeah, thank
definitely believe it gave our listeners and myself some insight too into just not just your world and what you do, but it was very educational from a standpoint of some advice and perspective for those who are wanting to take that step and take that leap into pursuing their dreams. So I appreciate your time and you coming on the show to share all that with us. Thank you.
thank you so much. I've enjoyed it, and I'm glad that we could get my voice out there and help others just know that it is possible to buy land, and
Yeah.
just stay true to yourself and it'll happen.
Yeah. Real quick, for those who do want to follow your journey and follow along, where can they find you?
Yep. So Instagram, my handle is I think Kathleen Blanks Realtor, and then my TikTok, which I'm not super active on anymore, but I need to get better at that. It's the same thing. It's Kathleen Blanks Realtor, and then 777 Gun Dogs is our business page for all things dogs, dog training, waterfowl hunting, and then Facebook Kathleen Blanks.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to follow along to support your journey, but then certainly if you're somebody who's interested in anything that we've talked about today or this conversation resonated with you, for our listeners, I definitely encourage y'all to go follow along with Kathleen's journey. And we'll have to have you back on the show after your lion hunt that you're going to go on, hear all about that. So,
Gonna happen.
well, thank you again. We're going to wrap this one up, but appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be with you guys again next week for another podcast. I'll catch you then.